Okay.
So we'll dive in and start the tapping now. Before we do that though, what are some of the things that you notice as a teacher like come up for you? Do you get overwhelmed? Do certain things?
Yeah.
Yeah, share.
Right. So I kind of think it came together like I sought out tapping and tapping sought out me, right? I wanted a tool to help myself, like a somatic tool to help me handle all the stressors of being a teacher and a mom at the same time, and looking into other, you know, my other interests outside, working with other groups of people. I wanted a tool that could help me work with kids who felt anxiety and felt anxious. So yeah, a lot of it can be what I see in school or how I feel sometimes. It's just anxiety of the things I'm asked to do, the things I need to deliver. It's overwhelming. Sometimes like, coming back into school with between all the students that are in my class, their different needs, trying to make sure I'm meeting their needs because I'm obligated to do that. That is part of the job. I can't leave anybody behind.
Mm,
And and then on top of that, like the past few years, I went from being a very strong in-person educator to realizing I had to be an online educator, which
yeah.
meant learning how to organize my courses, how I was going to deliver through Zoom, how I was going to start to use more technology when frankly I was language arts teacher. I really wasn't using a lot. I was using a lot of paper, pencil, books.
Yeah.
So I had to learn a whole new way of teaching. And I think there's this part of being a teacher that you just know you're in charge of people's kids. And that in itself can feel like a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
I know
That's
that I wonder how my kids are doing at school, who's taking care of my kids. And I want to do what's right for everybody else's kids.
got it. This is so helpful. I'm just taking notes so that I can use some of your words while we tap. And I know people watching this live or on the replay probably feel the same if they're a teacher. Like you love your job, you love the kids, and there's a lot to it that the average person doesn't see. And sometimes I even hear my own daughter, and she talks about stuff going on at school that I didn't know about or know about. I'm like, it is a lot to be a teacher. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
we paid enough. Like, I just couldn't imagine managing that amount of people, let alone little people, and then all the dynamics that happen in between that as well. So,
Yeah.
uh, thank you for sharing so openly. And I'm just going to check on the live if there's any comments here, because I know there's other people watching live or on the replay that might resonate with this. So if you're a teacher watching live, I'd love to hear from you. What comes up for you? What are some of the things that you struggle with, or that you would like to move through, whether that's like moving through some of the stress and anxiety that you feel or the pressure that you feel free to share below and we can tap on it together. So we'll tap now. It's like a game of Simon Says. So if you've never tapped before, we're tapping on acupuncture points in the face and body, and we're repeating phrases or statements. So I'm going to tap and say something, and then you and Christy are going to tap and copy me. And I'll lead you through every point. So I'll tell you where we're going and what to say. But actually, before we begin, I'm going to get you to just take a moment to close your eyes and really tune into your body today. Give yourself a moment to just take a breath, breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, and just visualize setting aside whatever you were doing before this, whatever you'll go to after this, creating a space just for you to just check in with how you're doing. Just notice if you were to give the overwhelm, the stress, or maybe even anxiety that you might be carrying, if you give it a number on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 meaning it's not high at all, 10 meaning it's really high, what number would you give it today?
I think today it's kind of like an 8.
Okay. And then where do you feel that in your body? Do you notice if there's anywhere you're holding on to that in your body?
Usually it's like right in my chest.
Okay. And then for those of you watching, doing the same thing as Christy, just noticing how high is it in a scale of 0 to 10? Where is it in my body? And then if you want to, you can share, but you don't have to. Just asking yourself, what is that about? Like I'm stressed or I'm anxious or I'm overwhelmed because, and fill in the blank. So if you're tapping on your own, that wording is going to be really helpful. Like I'm stressed because of the situation that happened today, or I'm overwhelmed because I feel pulled in so many different directions. So does anything come up for you, Christy, that you want to share, or do you want to keep it to yourself? What are you thinking?
No, I don't mind sharing. I mean, I love my classes. I have great, I can't say that like I have too many students in a room or anything like that. It's just the feeling of like starting school again. It's like getting it all set up again.
Ah,
And like I don't know all of the kids. I think that they're having a good time and adjusting well, but I see a couple of kids that look a little lost.
mm-hmm.
And there's that part of me that like wants them to be happy at school. So
Yeah.
like my heart kind of goes out. I hope that I'm making their day a good one.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of feeling a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Like, am I meeting everybody's needs? Are they already having, I want them to adjust quickly.
Yeah.
And then I have some life going on here at home.
Yeah.
So I've like, I'm trying to run to my own kids' back to school nights. I have one that just went to college who's like, I'm not sure how he's doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I, and then life, I need to make dinner. I need to, like, there's just so much.
Mm. Yeah. There's so much.
I
And
have papers to grade. I have work to do. I'd love to have that mentality, like, work is work. I'm going to leave it at school, but I can't get it all done just at
mm,
school. I have to bring it home.
yeah. Oh, this is going to be so good because I know that you're probably not alone in that feeling, and that this is a place for us to just vent this out and start to move through it. I'm seeing some comments. Susan says, I help special needs students navigate public high school. Wow. And Susan, what is that like for you? So do you feel similar to Christy? Or are there other stressors that you're noticing? Feel free to share and we can add that into our tapping together. So thank you for sharing, Christy. I wrote down some of these words, so I'll try to blend them in. Let's dive in. Let's start by tapping on the side of the hand, and you can go along and tap with us and say, even though I carry some stress and overwhelm
Even though I carry some stress and overwhelm
because of my job as a teacher,
because of my job as a teacher,
I love and accept myself anyway.
I love and accept myself anyway.
And I'm open to letting some of this stress and overwhelm go.
And I'm open to letting some of this stress and overwhelm go.
Even though I love my job.
Even though I love my job.
There's so much about my job that I love.
There's so much about my job that I love.
Some days it's a lot.
Some days it's a lot.
Some days it's a lot of responsibility.
Some days it's a lot of responsibility.
And a lot of pressure.
And a lot of pressure.
And I'd like to let some of this go.
And I'd like to let some of this go.
Especially because I love what I do.
Especially because I love what I do.
And I care about the people I work with.
And I care about the people I work with.
I often feel a lot of pressure.
I often feel a lot of pressure.
To make sure the kids are okay.
To make sure the kids are okay.
To make sure that I'm doing a good job.
To make sure I'm doing a good job.
While still handling my life too.
While still handling my life too.
And some days it just feels like a lot.
Some days it just feels like a lot.
And I love and accept myself anyway.
And I love and accept myself anyway.
Let's go to the top of the head and say, I can feel some overwhelm and stress.
I can feel some overwhelm and stress.
Eyebrow point that I'm holding on to in my body.
And I'm holding on to in my body.
Side of the eye, some overwhelm and stress about work.
some overwhelm and stress about work.
Tapping underneath the eye. I love what I do.
I love what I do.
Underneath the nose, but some days it's a lot.
Some days it's a lot.
Underneath the mouth, there's papers to grade,
The papers to grade.
collarbone point. There's kids to check up on.
There's kids to check up on.
Underneath the arms, I have to make sure everyone's getting all the concepts.
I have to make sure everyone's getting all the concepts.
Underneath the chest. And then there's those couple kids that I feel need a little extra help.
There are those couple kids I feel need a little extra help.
This point. And then there's my own life too.
And there's my own life too.
Top of the head. And sometimes it just feels like too much.
And sometimes it just feels like too much.
Eyebrow point. Some days it feels like I'm holding on to a lot.
Sometimes it feels like I'm holding on to a lot.
Side of the eye, but I'd like to give myself permission.
So I'd like to give myself permission
Underneath the eye to start letting some of the stress go.
to start letting some of the stress go.
Underneath the nose, so start letting some of the overwhelm go.
Start letting some of the overwhelm go.
Underneath the mouth and the pressure that I've been holding on to.
The pressure I've been holding on to.
Collarbone point. I'm open to releasing some of it now.
I'm open to releasing some of it now.
All right. So go ahead. You can take a deep breath. And then I'll get you to tune back in, Christy, and all of you who are doing this with us. What number is that stress or overwhelm now? And for you, Christy, it was in your chest. What number would you give that?
It's definitely gone down. I would say, I would say it's like a 5.
Awesome. Okay. And did anything come up for you in that round?
Yeah, there's always that part. That's like, okay, we've only been in school for like a week. Like,
yeah.
actually in a week, I know everybody's name. That's good. I know I've looked at everything. I mean, they're happy. They come in the morning, the kids are happy to be there. They're excited. They say they know the building already, which is kind of a complicated, big building.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my own kids seem okay. They're tired, but like we're all just kind of getting back in the routine. So there's that part that's like, okay, it is only the first week of school.
Yeah.
Gotta like let the dust settle a little.
Yeah. And like a little self-compassion, like,
Yeah.
I'm actually doing a pretty good job. Like I know all the conditions,
Yeah.
It's
I'm getting there. I just, there's still that part that's like, then my calendar starts running and I'm like, I have a meeting at 7:25 in the morning. And then I, have back to school night to prepare for.
Mhm.
Just all the things, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So, for anyone listening along and you check in with your number, and if you're like, my number didn't drop, the secret to success with tapping is in your specific wording. So the type of tapping you're experiencing right now is very global, general tapping. If we were tapping one-on-one, or if I was like really just going to Christy's wording, I would get more specific, and that's where you'll start to feel the shift, because you're like, oh, my number dropped. Like it's only been a week. I'm going to give myself some grace. Like things are, I'm actually doing pretty good. But if you feel like, oh, my anxiety went up, or no, there's still so much to do, that's okay too. There's no right or wrong experience with tapping. But we're going to do 2 more rounds to keep things moving. I'm also just going to check on these comments here. Susan says she feels quite overwhelmed. We don't have the resources to meet basic needs. I know that's very common. I saw a little thread I had posted in that, yes, teachers feeling like they're not fully supported, especially by what some students need. They just don't have the resources.
For sure.
Drama in high school as well. Okay. So yeah, picking up on, just the surroundings in general. And if you're more of a sensitive person, that drama can affect you on a deep level. So let's tap again. Thank you, Susan, for sharing, and for everyone tapping along with us. Let's tap again on the side of the hand.
Okay.
And say, even though I still feel some overwhelm and stress in my body,
even though I still feel some overwhelm and stress in my body
about work and school.
about work and school.
I love and accept myself anyway.
I love and accept myself anyway.
And I'm open to the possibility
And I'm open to the possibility
that I could let some of this go,
that I can let some of this go.
even though there's a part of me
Even though there's part of me
that doesn't want to let it go,
that doesn't want to let it go,
because I know there's a lot to do
because I know there's a lot to do.
and my schedule's really full already.
My schedule's really full already.
I love and accept myself anyway.
I love and accept myself anyway.
And I wonder if I could move through this year
And I wonder if I could move through this year
in a different way,
in a different way.
even though it's pretty normal to feel stressed as a teacher.
Even though it's pretty normal to feel stressed as a teacher,
I'm open to moving through this year in a new way.
I'm open to moving through this year in a new way.
I don't know what that looks like yet,
I don't know what that looks like yet,
but I'm open to the idea.
but I'm open to the idea.
Go to the top of the head and say, I still feel some stress and anxiety about work.
I still feel some stress and anxiety about work
Eyebrow points and all the things that have to get done.
and all the things that have to get done,
Side of the eye and all the different dynamics I'm responsible for.
all the different dynamics I'm responsible for.
Underneath the eye, but maybe instead of keeping the stress inside,
But maybe instead of keeping the stress inside,
underneath the nose, I could give myself permission to let it out and let it go.
I could give myself permission to let it out and let it go.
Underneath the mouth, any stress or anxiety in my body.
Any stress or any anxiety in my body,
Collarbone point, I'm going to give myself permission to release it.
I'm going to give myself permission to release it.
Underneath arms, I could carry it around.
I could carry it around.
Underneath the chest, or I could start letting it go.
I could start letting it go.
This point, I'm open to letting it go.
I'm open to letting it go.
Top of the head and feeling a little more at peace in my body instead.
I'm feeling a little more at peace in my body instead.
All right, so you can stop tapping and take a breath. What number would you give that feeling now? That's overwhelm or stress in your chest.
Yeah, I feel it's pretty low now.
Is it? What?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say it's probably like, it's actually probably like a 2.
Awesome. And what's shifted? Why is it a 2 now?
When you were like saying I could probably see this differently and I'm open to, I don't know what that looks like. I started to think back like when we were coming back a few years ago and it was COVID.
Yeah.
Like that was so stressful. There were no kids in the building, just the teachers. We were teaching like live on Zoom from our classroom with no kids in the building. And then kids were coming in the building, and that was so complicated. Like, this is so not complicated compared to 2 years ago. So if I
Wow.
just add a little perspective, like,
Yeah.
this is really, there's so much more compassion from parents
Yeah.
and administrators, and there's so much more, I think, like collegiality with my colleagues because
Mhm.
we get it.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
Can't do all the things. You have to you're just doing the best you can do.
So let's do that for our last round, is really having self-compassion, and really acknowledging like I'm doing the best that I can and that's enough. And I choose to be kinder to myself while I navigate, the start of the year, the new kids, the changes, my own schedule, choosing to give myself a little grace and self-compassion today to end that off. How does that feel?
Yeah, that sounds good. That
Okay,
sounds good.
awesome. And for anyone that's with us live, feel free to share in the chat if you've noticed your numbers shift. And also checking in on the body, like, okay, before I felt this stress and anxiety in my chest, has that moved? Has that number went up or down? And what's come up for you, right? Because you're going to process different than Christine. No two people are the same. and just making little notes like, oh, I had this thought or this awareness come up. Those will be keys to help you tap further. So for this last round, let's tap again on the side of the hand. Take a nice deep breath. And say, even though I was feeling a lot of stress and overwhelm before,
Even though I was feeling a lot of stress and overwhelm before,
I'm starting to feel better now.
I'm starting to feel better now.
And I'm open to moving through this year
And I'm open to moving through this year
in a new way.
in a new way.
And even though there will still be obstacles,
And even though there will still be obstacles,
there will still be challenging moments,
there will still be challenging moments,
and there'll still be things I wish were different.
and there will be things I still wish were different.
I love and accept myself anyway,
I love and accept myself anyway.
and I choose to move forward today
And I choose to move forward today
with a little more compassion for myself,
with a little more compassion for myself.
even though I still feel some stress and overwhelm.
Even though I feel some stress and overwhelm,
I'm choosing to release it today.
I'm choosing to release it today.
I'm choosing to release it for right now
I'm choosing to release it for right now,
and to give myself a break.
to give myself a break.
I'm just doing the best that I can.
Just doing the best that I can.
Yeah, let's go to the top of the head and say, I could choose to feel anxious and overwhelmed.
I could choose to feel anxious and overwhelmed,
Eyebrow point, or I could choose to have some compassion for myself.
or I could choose to have some compassion for myself.
Side of that, I could choose to acknowledge that I'm doing the best that I can.
I could choose to acknowledge that I'm doing the best that I can.
Underneath the eye, and that we all are.
And we all are.
Underneath the nose. So I choose to move forward this year.
So I choose to move forward this year.
Underneath the mouth, being open to doing things differently.
Being open to doing things differently.
Collarbone point, adjusting where it's needed.
Adjusting where it's needed.
Underneath the arms, and keeping an open mind.
Keeping an open mind.
Tapping underneath the chest. I choose to move forward now.
I choose to move forward now.
Wrist point, being kinder to myself today.
Being kinder to myself today.
Top of the head, being proud of who I am as a teacher.
Being proud of who I am as a teacher.
Eyebrow point, celebrating all that I am able to do.
Celebrating all that I am able to do.
Side of the eye, and allowing my body to feel some peace now.
Allowing my body to feel some peace now.
Good job.
Thank you, friend. That
So
feels so much better.
I just want to acknowledge you and all teachers that are like often leading with a lot of heart and love their jobs, and often feel like you feel for the kids, you feel for the things that are happening in their lives. And it's such a beautiful thing, but your body doesn't have to carry all of that all the time, and that this technique can really help you move through that. There's so much more to it that I'd love to teach and share with you. So I hope that you come to this free tapping event where we can learn more about it. But anything else you want to say, Christy, before we close off?
No, I mean, I think that the tapping event is how I found you.
Yeah,
So
that's
I appreciate the tapping event. I appreciate the replays, and I appreciated the educator in me appreciated learning the science of it and understanding why it's just such a valuable tool to have in the toolbox. Because I think as a teacher, as a parent, um, as just a woman, I love learning about new ways to help myself, and self growth. And tapping is like, it's like yoga, like we've said, it's like a workout, it's like meditation, it's just a self-care tool, and can use it in so many ways. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. And my mission is to get tapping into the hands, hearts, and homes of people worldwide. And I think a great way to do that is through teachers, empowering teachers with this tool. And if you ever have a kid that's anxious or overstimulated, the cool thing about tapping is you can talk. So it'll give those same side effects as meditation or yoga, but you can talk through the big feelings. And so thank you, Christy, for tapping today. Thank you for tapping with us. I'll make sure that the link is posted underneath of this so that you can come join our free training. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to myself or Christy.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone. Bye for now.